I just wanted to make this video, maybe it'd help anybody out, to put a rear disc brake setup from a Blazer, like 2001, on a second-gen Camaro. I took a rear end out of a 2001 Blazer with rear disc brakes and cleaned up all the parts and have them all ready to go. This is how I assembled all the driver's side before I painted all the pieces. That's your main bracket right there. That's kind of it mocked up. That's it put together with the backing plate, axle back into place, the new rotor and the caliper bracket, and the new caliper put in place with the pads, and just kind of see how it all goes together right there. Only thing I bought new is the rotor and brake pads, and I had to get the caliper hardware, the mounting hardware, because it was stuck in the bracket there. And it will actually, it's a wheel seal, because rear end is built about 6 years ago, so it probably needs them. This side over here is already done. This was before I realized that the spacing was wrong. And I'll kind of take some more pictures as I go, but it's pretty easy. This is where right here all kind of makes it all happen on the bracket. You have to pull the axles straight out, nice and slow.
Why did I touch that?
It's gonna be dirty. Okay. All the disc brake stuff, drum brake stuff comes off, and that bracket there just bolts to the axle, lines right up. Everything works. You have to, even the brake lines here, the hard line will screw into the existing brake lines for the Camaro. So yeah, hopefully this helps anybody. I made it about, for the rear end was about $100. I had to go pull it out of the Blazer. The rotors and the brake pads, that was about $110. So I'm in at about $210 for just these parts. And doing all the cleaning, that's all free. So all right, so that backing plate's off, 4 screws. So I'll reuse the hard line from the Blazer rear end, because this one's too long. It actually goes in for the backing plate for that wheel cylinder, and it all screws together. It's got a 1/2-inch head, but it's got the same fitting for the what's on the Camaro now. So this backing plate right here from the Blazer rear end bolts right up to that, and everything just bolts onto that, and it works. So yeah, I'll continue with it. This is the mounting bracket and the backing plate put together. That's the little bracket for the parking brake. All the parking brake assembly put together. That's the back side. And that'll get mounted on the axle now. That's with the backing plate in. I put the new axle seal in as well. So I'll put the axles in, C-clips in the axles. Axles in, and the parking brake rotor is on. About to put on the caliper bracket. Okay, ran into a little bit of an obstacle, but got it kind of figured out. If you can see Even though this all bolts up, this is on the driver's side. The bracket isn't perfectly like centered over the rotor. It's almost like it's pushed toward the inside, toward the rear, like the rear housing and the axle. That's all because, like, even you can see it here, the space here, like this rotor is supposed to be pulled a little closer. I think that's because of the axle length of the Blazer rear end. On the passenger side, when I try to put it together, it wouldn't even bolt up. So, like, when I put the caliper bracket on there, and the caliper itself, like, the bracket wouldn't even fit over. So what I did is I went ahead and cut off the tabs on the end of these, the rear end. They came off the Blazer. They're right here, and I notched them so I don't have to pull out the axles and all that stuff again. So I'll go ahead and put them in. If you can see, I'll put them in back in here. Guess I got to notch that a little bit more. And that way this spaces out, and then everything else will bolt onto it. And I have longer screws, and that'll push the spacing out. So hopefully that works. There's the spacer, like the end of the bracket I made. That'll be up against that housing, and then everything else will basically bolt up to that. And that should give me the spacing I need, because I went ahead and like bought washers and kind of stacked them up to see how far I need to go. And like 3 of these washers stacked up together was the same width as that. So I was like, well, I can use that. And that's parts that come right off that rear end. So, and it all lines up. So I'll put that together and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, let's see. That's what the new screw is going through. I put a little bit of Loctite on this on the back side. Let's see if you can see what it looks like right there. That's with the bracket in there, nicely painted. But yeah, that's basically the other part of the Blazer, just the ear off the Blazer. So that should give me the spacing. So I'll put the nuts on the back ends of those screws, and I'll bolt that up and put it all together and do the same thing on the other side. So this is how the rotor sits now with that extra spacer I put on there, that bracket. So it sits better on the axle, and you can kind of see already once I put this on there, it will be more at center. So I'm gonna bolt that up. That bracket's bolted on, and let's see if I can shine the light back there. You can kind of see the spacer, and if you push on so when it's flush, it'll that rotor's flush on there. It's got that better centered. So now to put the caliper and pads on. Okay, the passenger side is all complete. The brake hose tied into the hard line, and I'll secure the hard line with like a metal tie or something, because I don't have anything to weld onto that axle tube. So I gotta take this spacer and put it in on the driver's side. So real quick, this is before I put the spacer on. It all kind of bolted together, but like I said, it's not centered. It's closer to the outside of that bracket than it is on the inside, like in here. And you can see right here on the backing plate how far off it is. You'll see the difference when I put that spacer on there. Brackets in place. Well, spacer, whatever you want to call it. All right, now to bolt it all together. Okay, the driver's side is in and the spacer is in, and you can see it's better. So I like the way this is, and you can see against the backing plate as well. That giant space is gone. All right, all I gotta do now is put the diff cover back on, top it off with fluid, and proportioning valve. Unfortunately, I just got a new proportioning valve on this thing. It's only about like 6 months old. So I got a one from Summit that you can dial in the rear.
The rear brake pressure is what I'm trying to say.
So
kind of messed that up.
there we go. And I think the one thing I didn't mention, the reason why I had to get the new rotors, not only because I wanted new ones, was because the old rotor for the Blazer, it's got like a taller hat, and O'Reilly's will sell you the one for, you know, the other style. I guess it's like a 2-wheel drive Blazer that has a shorter hat that'll fit. And that's probably where like a little bit of the alignment issues came up, where how far out it stuck. But like I said, O'Reilly sells a piece that'll actually fit. So new proportioning valve is in. Waiting on one more fitting for the rear line. I need a fitting that will adapt to a 9/16 18.
This is it all put together, all completed. Like I said, this was, you know, fairly simple to put all together. The hardest thing I ran into was the spacing on the hats for the rotors, but I got it figured out. It's all together, all ready to go. Hopefully this helps somebody out.